I woke up suddenly at 4 a.m. It felt like someone in my dream was pressing hard on my chest. But even after opening my eyes, the pressure didn't go away. If anything, it grew stronger. A heavy weight began in the pit of my stomach and slowly climbed toward my left shoulder. I was just lying there, but I felt as if someone inside me was pulling an invisible rope tied around my heart. Whenever I tried to take a deep breath, my lungs only seemed to open halfway. Did I just eat something bad? That was my first thought. Work had been brutal these days. Rush meals, late nights, constant deadlines. But then, the sound of my heartbeat felt different. Thud. A long pause. Then another thud. It was like my heart was trying to escape my body, beating in a rhythm I couldn't control. Suddenly, I remembered something my colleague said at drinks the night before. "Hey, Kim manager. Heart attacks are common among guys in their 50s. Don't ignore the warning signs." That sentence flashed through my mind, like a red emergency light. No way. Not me, right? I forced myself to sit up. And that's when a sharp, spear-like pain stabbed right through the center of my chest. I almost screamed. The room was completely dark, and only the chilly dawn wind seeped through the window. This house, normally where I felt safest, felt strangely hostile tonight. It wasn't silence. It was a warning. I slowly slid out of bed, supporting myself with both hands. My fingertips were cold, and cold sweat ran down my back like ice water. As I walked toward the kitchen, my eyes caught something on the living room wall. A small memo my wife had left. "Don't postpone your health checkup." My heartbeat jumped again the moment I saw that note. Somewhere deep inside, my body already knew. This wasn't just fatigue. I tried to drink a cup of water, but my hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped the glass. So I leaned on the sink and stayed frozen there for a long time. In the stillness of dawn, one thought hit me hard. What if something is seriously wrong? The house around me felt as if it were whispering warnings. The swaying shadow under the lamp, the family photo on the shelf, the ticking second hand on the kitchen clock. Have you been pushing yourself too far? Then the pain spread again. A heavy, dragging sensation down my left arm. My heart clenched tight, my face tingled, and a surge of cold sweat erupted from head to toe. I pressed my palm against the wall and whispered to myself, breathing hard, "This isn't indigestion. This is really not normal." My heartbeat was wild, irregular, unpredictable, as if some unseen force in the dark was shaking it with its bare hands. That's it. I'm going to the hospital tomorrow. I promised myself that. And I lay back down. But my eyes stayed wide open. It was my body's warning. And at that moment, I had no idea how dangerously close I was to crossing a line I couldn't come back from. This ends stage 1. But this quiet dawn pain is the beginning of something much bigger. That will shake the entire episode. Even after morning light filled the room, the apartment was still strangely silent. My wife and kids had gone to her parents' house 2 days ago, and normally, I would have enjoyed this rare moment of freedom. A quiet house, a slow morning. But today, that silence felt unnaturally heavy. I stopped in the middle of the living room and stared out the window. The apartment complex, which usually looked warm and familiar, suddenly felt like a deserted set from some post-apocalyptic movie. No footsteps in the hallway, no elevator noise, no voices from neighboring units. It felt as if the entire building was holding its breath and watching me. The chest pain had eased a little, but something else had taken over. A cold, creeping anxiety that wrapped around my entire body. From the tips of my toes to the back of my head, a chill crawled upward like a warning. As I walked toward the kitchen, I froze. On the side table by the sofa was a small family photo. My kids smiling with a birthday cake, my wife leaning into me, and me, looking genuinely happy, but the reflection staring back at me from the TV screen looked nothing like that man. A dull complexion, bloodshot eyes, a face that looked like it had been running from something for years. When did I become this? I whispered without meaning to. At that exact moment, the kitchen clock made a loud, sharp tick. A totally normal sound, but my heart dropped. The noise sounded like a warning, almost like it was saying, "You don't get it yet. You're in danger." I took in a slow breath, trying to steady myself. Then I opened the refrigerator, and a burst of cold air hit my face. That tiny sensation sent another wave of tension through my body. Why am I reacting like this to everything? What had been a normal home yesterday felt like a space full of messages today. The long stretched shadow under the ceiling light, the slightly open balcony door, the envelope of old prescriptions on the dining table, even the sunlight pooling on the floor felt oddly distant. Everything seemed to whisper the same thing. If you keep living like this, you won't last. I sat in the living room and replayed last night's pain in my mind. The numbness that crawled into my left shoulder, the tightness that squeezed my chest each time I breathed, and me leaning against the wall, barely holding myself up. If I had collapsed last night, no one would have been here. That sentence alone clamped around my heart like a fist. I couldn't move for a long time. Strangely, the silence scared me more than the pain. This home, my safe place for so many years, felt like it was confronting me. Why did you live like this? You almost lost everything. Isn't it time you finally wake up? That's how it felt. I slowly stood up and opened the window. A cold gust of morning air swept in, and for a moment, my chest felt lighter. Right then, I made a decision. I can't go to work today and pretend nothing's wrong. But I had no idea that this small decision would lead to the storm waiting for me at the office. Page 2 ends here, and page 3 begins with the moment my body finally collapses under everything I ignored. When I finally stepped into the office, I already knew something wasn't right. The air felt heavier than usual, like the whole building was pressing down on my shoulders. I walked through the lobby, nodding mechanically at the security guard, but my heart was already pounding too fast. By the time I reached my desk, the buzzing in my chest had returned. Not pain exactly, but a deep, unsettling vibration, as if my heart was warning me, "Don't push it today." But of course I ignored it. Emails piled up. Slack messages blinked non-stop. My boss had already left 2 missed calls, and a thick folder of reports sat on my chair, like a silent threat. I took a slow breath and tried to pretend everything was normal, but it wasn't. During the morning meeting, my eyes kept losing focus. Voices sounded far away, as if I were underwater. Someone asked me about last quarter's projections, and I froze. The numbers on the screen blurred together, melting into a single bright smear. "Are you okay, sir?" A junior asked quietly. "I'm fine," I lied. But even I didn't believe my own voice. The hours crawled until lunchtime, and by then, my chest felt like someone had placed a heavy stone on it. Still, I followed the team into the conference room for a quick lunch meeting. I shouldn't have gone in. The moment I sat down, a sharp pain shot through my left chest. The same pain from last night, but now fiercer, deeper, like something inside me was tearing open. My fork slipped from my hand. The room spun. I heard someone talking, but the voice came from far, far away. Then suddenly, my left arm went numb. Completely. It was like my body was slowly disappearing piece by piece. A bead of sweat rolled down my temple. My breathing turned shallow, as if someone had tightened a belt around my ribs. I grabbed the edge of the table, but my fingers wouldn't close properly. I tried to speak, to say anything, but my throat refused to open. And then, everything tilted. The ceiling shifted sideways. The walls stretched. and my team's faces became distorted shapes, floating above me. Manager Kim! Sir! Sir! Voices burst around me in panic. My body slid out of the chair and hit the floor. My vision flickered, blinking in and out, like a broken light switch. My heartbeat was no longer a rhythm, just chaotic thuds, spasms, and terrifying silence in between. For a moment, I genuinely thought this was it. This cold floor, this spinning room, this would be the last place I'd ever see. A hand grabbed my shoulder. Someone shouted for an ambulance. Another voice trembled. Please stay with us, please. I wanted to answer. I tried, but my lips wouldn't move. My body felt like it was sinking underwater, limbs heavy, lungs burning for air. And then, as everything went black, one horrifying thought echoed in my mind. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't stop. The last thing I heard, before losing consciousness, was my team calling my name, over and over. Manager Kim! Sir! Sir! And then nothing. Only darkness